Hello everyone, this is David, and tonight's movie that we watched was Godzilla vs. Monster Zero, also known as Invasion of the Astro Monster. Now, this is an interesting film in that it is one of the first films to bring in space aliens really into the forefront as bad guys. This is a recurring theme that happens a lot later on in the series. In Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, there were space aliens, but they weren't really space aliens. Like, there were no aliens coming from space. It was more like the sort of mystical possession kind of thing going on. But in this one, there's aliens. Alright, so... And unfortunately, this one doesn't have any new monsters. And we'll get into what goes on as we get to it. So, it starts off with this astronaut Glenn and astronaut Fuji fly into this mysterious planet X, which is found in orbit around Jupiter. And apparently we didn't find it until recently because it's very dark. And they're on an expedition to go check it out. So they go check it out, and they land on the planet. And basically they meet the aliens that live there on planet X. And they're these guys, they all look the same. They kind of dress in like these alien jumpsuits. And a monster attacks. And it turns out it's Ghidorah. And they tell him that on Earth they call him Ghidorah, but here everything's numbered, so they call it Monster Zero. And so that's a big problem. So there's an attack, you hear something about shortage, and then the controller presses a button, and they go into like this little bubble, and everything else blacks out. And then a couple minutes later, they talk to him about how they're going to send him back to Earth with this message of peace, how to cure all the problem, the typical thing that evil aliens will give you. It's like, oh, we're not bad guys, we're good guys. Here's this thing, I'll tell you how to fix all your diseases and new cool technologies and whatnot. Alright, that's cool. So they go back to Earth, and the humans read the message, sorry, they didn't get the message yet. That's the second time they go. So they go back to Earth and tell them about what they found, and then the aliens are there, and they're camping out, and they're like, so, Monster Zero is a problem, so can we borrow your monsters? And the Earth's like, sure, I guess you can borrow our monsters. I mean, we're not using them for anything. So they borrow them, and they're like, okay, in exchange, we'll give you cool stuff. So they take Rodan and Godzilla to Planet X, and this is the only time Godzilla goes off planet that I'm aware of in the core Godzilla films. There may be some sort of like third-party esoteric thing that does that. The Nintendo game also had Godzilla just flying around everywhere but Earth, which is kind of weird. But so they beat up Ghidorah, they chase him away, and the astronauts come with them again, and they send him back with a message. When they get back to Earth, they play the message. They also built them a special rocket to take back to Earth, and when they get back, they play the message, and it's basically the aliens are invading. So the aliens invade, and they're like, we have your monsters, we're gonna take you over. You can surrender, or we can kill all you with crazy space monsters. Now, you can already see the problem here. The problem is, in the previous film, Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, Ghidorah was a malevolent space monster that came and destroyed whole civilizations. Now, he's the pawn of aliens. Definite downgrade from cosmic horror to mere, effectively, dragon, if you know your TV tropes. So that's unfortunate, but it serves the plot, as much as there is a plot here. They find out that, oh, I forgot, there's also a subplot with astronaut Glenn being involved with this Mrs. Namikawa, and she's like a business owner, and she buys like this really weird thing off of Fuji's sister's boyfriend. He's like a toy maker, and he made this like thing that makes the most obnoxious noise ever, and they bought that off of him as a thing that they were going to use. Apparently it was because it could disrupt their control. But Namikawa falls in love with Glenn, and the Planet X guys don't like this, so they kill her when Glenn's on the planet. And Namikawa is trying to convince Glenn to surrender so they could get married, but whatever. Okay, so that's like a little subplot that's going on. Anyway, again, they have to have a human element thing going on, so they decided to have a more personal plot again. which worked better in Ghidra. Doesn't work quite as well here. It's a little bit more. It really feels kind of tacked on, honestly. There's enough stuff going on between the aliens and the monsters invading and figuring out how to thwart them that I don't think it really needed like a romance subplot with an alien, but it's fine. It's inoffensive at the very least. It doesn't cause any problems. So the aliens are very arrogant, though. So they tell them that they control the monsters through magnetic waves. So the scientists immediately get to work on how we're going to foil this, and they figure out a way using, Star Trek tactics, which is just make something up. They make something up to block the magnetic waves. Turns out this disrupts everything. It blows up the Planet X ships, and the monsters revert to their nature. As we already established, when monsters revert to their nature, what do? They fight. They just love fighting all day long. They're rowdy roughhousers. So Rodan and Godzilla team up. They beat up Ghidra. They all fall into the ocean, and Ghidra flies away into space. And apparently, Glenn and Fuji are being sent back to Planet X as ambassadors to seek some sort of peace between them when they just tried to invade our planet. I don't think that's such a good idea, but alright, that's the thing. So that's Invasion of the Astro Monster. It's a pretty rinse-repeat formula. Honestly, there's no new monsters here, so that's kind of sad. I'm always, whenever they have a new title, they should tell you what's in it. Again, this is kind of like Godzilla vs. The Thing, where they didn't want you to know it's Mothra, so they're just going, yep, it's a different monster this time. Oh, it's Ghidra. Now, don't get me wrong, Ghidra's a good bad guy. He's a perfectly acceptable antagonist. However, I would have liked something new. In pretty much every other movie, they introduce at least one new monster. So it'd be nice to see something different. But, this is what we got. Invasion of the Astro Monster. It's an okay film, but in the end, I think this one is more see Ghidra the three-headed monster. You can easily skip this one. You're not going to miss anything. The Planet X aliens don't come up again as far as I remember. But if they do, I'll mention it in that review. But I'm pretty sure they don't. In Godzilla Final Wars, there is an homage to this, in that aliens do invade, and I believe they're called Exilians, which might be the actual name of the race. I don't remember if it was ever given in the English version. Maybe in the original Japanese, but not in the dub. So that's a thing. But this is an okay film. It's watchable, certainly, but I wouldn't put this one as a high priority. So also, this one's fine for the kids. There's nothing really that bad that I remember seeing. There's no blood. There's no gore. You don't see anyone dying or anything really, as far as I remember. Oh wait, sorry. You see Mrs. Namikawa, but she dies Star Trek style. They shoot her with a laser, and she just kind of disappears. So she doesn't even scream or anything. It just hits her, and she kind of just fades away. So it's all very good. It's acceptable. Like I said, I'm kind of repeating myself, but it's just kind of middle of the road. Honestly, it's not bad, but at the same time, nothing really stands out as really good. Anyway, I'm kind of prattling on at this point, so that's all I have to say about that, I guess. And good night, folks.